Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to ThePromG Rants, a new video series where I get to come on camera and just air it all out when a manga goes as far as making me unhappy. Honestly, whether it be an actual manga series or just something regarding the manga community, there's always some stupid bullshit going on that I want to talk about, and sometimes I don't always want to do it in a civilized, orderly manner. So today I'm basically just hopping in front of the camera to get it all out there off my chest. This manga right here, X1999, has officially pissed me off. Now before you Shoujo fans head straight to the comments and start flaming me like you have a couple times in the past, I just want to say this right off the bat, I don't think X is a bad manga, but it is such a frustrating manga because there's so many things just hanging over this manga's head like a dark cloud, bringing it down, that I just think is so disappointing. And just the fact that I rarely ever see a dissenting opinion going against the grain saying, you know what, maybe this manga isn't a perfect 10 out of 10 like everybody else says it is, I feel like it's kind of my duty to bring some of these concerns to light. So for a little bit of context, I'll give a brief plot synopsis of this manga, and I mean brief. Basically, it follows these two groups of people. We have the Dragons of Heaven and the Dragons of Earth. The Dragons of Heaven are the so-called good guys, with the Dragons of Earth being the so-called bad guys. The Dragons of Earth basically want to wipe out all of mankind because of their negative effects they've had on the Earth, and the Dragons of Heaven want to save mankind on Earth, even though they have done some bad things such as climate change, yada yada yada. And I will say that this is a pretty interesting concept for a manga. I had the air quotes on both of the good guys and bad guys because, you know, they both have points. Humans are very terrible a lot of the times, especially when it comes to protecting the environment. And the characters that are on the Dragon of Earth side aren't necessarily bad people on the surface. They all have backstories. They're all somewhat likable to a degree, so, you know, it is interesting in that regard, but there are some other parts of this manga that I think just make it fall so flat. And again, this manga was so interesting to me when I first started it, but as it was going on, I just couldn't help but be put off by all of these things just accumulating and making the reading experience so much worse. So without further ado, let's get into the first thing that's grinding my gears. That is the really weird pacing of the writing.
I wanna fuck you hard on the sink.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but me personally, when I'm reading a manga volume and I start to see black borders on the pages, a universal sign of a flashback, I just lose so much steam. I'm just not a big fan of manga flashbacks. Obviously, flashbacks are necessary, but when they're making up like 25% of your entire manga, it is just a no-go. I can't stand it. And I know some X-fan is going to go down the comments below and fact-check me. They have this knowledge off the top of their heads. It's actually only 3% of the manga. It feels like 25. And if it feels like 25, even if it's not, that is a problem. I feel like every chapter, they either go back in time to give a brief fill-in on some character's backstory that I really didn't find interesting to begin with, or they're just rehashing these same ideas and phrases that pop up so often in these volumes. The first one that comes to mind is the main character Kamui, who is one of the Dragons of Heaven. He's basically put in a position where he can either join the Dragons of Heaven or he can join the Dragons of Earth, the good guys or the bad guys. For the first, I would say probably 7 or so volumes, he hasn't really picked a side yet, and all the time they're saying, Kamui, you have the decision. You can change fate. You can join the good side or the bad side and change humanity. It's like, yes, we get it. Maybe this main character who rarely shows any emotion is super uninteresting. Maybe he needs these constant reminders to get through his thick skull that he is a person of import. It's almost like these characters are just parroting his name over and over. I mean, his name, Kamui, is said like 10 times on each page. Is ridiculous. But I'm getting a little bit off track. What was the main issue I was talking about? Oh yeah, pacing. When you're flashing back to the past, referencing it, or just saying these same things over and over again that has been made clear to the reader from the very beginning, when you're filling your manga with this just filler, I'm calling it like it is, it's filler. And I know some people who really love this series think that the character development, the flashbacks, the depth of each character is something that is really good. I disagree. I think the way these characters are developed through constant flashbacks is super grating and just, yeah, I did not like it at all.
I am severely addicted to opiates.
The second thing about this manga that I really didn't like is that there seems to be a massive lack of stakes. Now, you might be thinking, ThePromG, didn't you just say that the stake of this manga is the fate of Earth and of mankind? How could you not care about that? Well, the answer is, I don't care. Now, in my most recent video where I talked a little bit more in depth about X1999, I talked about a famous paradox that basically says the larger the scope or the stakes of your series, the less in turn the audiences like to care. And though some people did disagree with me in that last video, I think there is a lot of truth to this paradox. Unless there's some actually personal, down-to-earth stuff at stake, my ability to care goes drastically down. I mean, how many times have we seen the Earth, mankind, the universe being at stake across all different mediums? It is pretty played out, but what really matters is how you tie in your actual characters, their relationships, into the grander story. One comment on my last video said, your favorite manga series is Gantz, which is basically about the fate of the universe. To which I respond, the main stakes of that manga are purely interpersonal. You know, people trying to buy their own lives back with their interesting backstories. You want to see them succeed. Actually, the worst part of Gantz, the catastrophe arc, is that arc where you really see the fate of the world at center stage. So while yes, the overarching idea is that the universe or the world is at stake in Gantz, that is not what I was thinking about when I was reading it. I was thinking about how are these characters going to fight for survival? How are their relationships going to change based on the events and the situations they're put in? With X1999, one thing that is so jarring that I hated is that when you're seeing these dragons of Earth just go ham on Tokyo, destroying all these landmarks and cities, you do not see one person being affected. Seriously, I don't know how this even happened when they were writing the manga, but literally all you see in these scenes is just them wreaking havoc on the cities. You see buildings crumble, and of course, anyone with a brain can infer, you know, people are dying, but when you don't show that aspect of it at all, that actual effect on human life, it just feels so hollow. Like, do they really expect me 10, 12, 15 volumes in to see these full spread panels of massive destructive events and just go, those poor skyscrapers? Like, no, you have to show me the actual repercussions of the destruction that is being incurred on Tokyo, on Japan as a whole. I don't care about these buildings. I want to see the actual people and lives being affected because, again, that personal aspect of it is the thing that I and a lot of people are more likely to care about. And another thing that really irks me about this manga is that the protagonists, the Dragons of Heaven, this is kind of a spoiler, I guess, but I don't really care, they never take any victories. I mean, it is always just bad stuff happening over and over again. Now, granted, this manga is not finished, so I'm assuming the good guys would end up winning in the end in the series, you know, reversing fate, coming out triumphant. But in the content we got, it is just L after L after L. I mean, I'm pretty sure literally every single time the good guys and bad guys face, the bad guys come out on top, and if one of them dies, the guys on the good side are negatively affected by it. I mean, it's just insane. If you want me to care about these characters in their cause, you gotta spoon feed me a little bit of material to show me why I want to root for them. I mean, it almost feels like I'm rooting for the Detroit Lions in the 2010s. I mean, you're just seeing your guys you want to root for take no victories whatsoever, and it is just disheartening to read. And obviously, not every manga has to be sunshine and rainbows where the good guys are always winning. If they always win, that makes it boring too, but you gotta give me something.
What the fuck is that?
I will say, from a purely visual standpoint, as far as the normal artwork in this manga goes, it is beautiful. I mean, it has that classic 90s style. Clamp does great artwork, so I will give them that. But the one part that I think really falters visually is the action. I mean, I really don't know how to describe it. I'll put up some pictures and panels and images of these fights on screen. I mean, I defy you to tell me exactly what is going on here. This is definitely on the lower end of the spectrum of readability when it comes to action. And you get the general idea. People are just flinging things, shooting off powers at each other, but being able to follow it fluidly is next to impossible. Not to mention that these action scenes are basically just thrown in. They last usually less than a chapter, and then they're gone. It's back to flashbacks, it's back to rehashing the same ideas. I think that this manga could have really benefited from just slowing down the action, drawing it out a bit more, you know, not shoving so much into these panels, just building up the action and the tension a little bit more, so those payoffs, when you get to the end of it and something emotional is supposed to happen, I actually care and I don't just think, what just happened? How did we get here with someone lying in a puddle of blood? So yeah, those are just a few things about X 1999 that I just could not stand. And again, I don't think X 1999 is a bad manga by any means. It is super surreal, impressive visually for the most part, with a good concept, good themes, and some characters that I enjoyed reading about. But there are just so many things that I've talked about that hamper this series and I think really hold it back. And it's just kind of frustrating when something starts out so strong and then you realize it's just not going anywhere, which again is super disappointing. So the point of this video, obviously, just to get some things off my chest, but also to start a discussion. If you're a fan of X 1999, I want you, please go in the comments, defend your series, tell me where I went wrong, give me a new perspective as I've given you my perspective, and let's just figure out what the hell is going on with this manga. But that's basically going to do it for me today. If you guys enjoy this PromG rant type of video and want to see more, let me know. I'm not sure how often I'll do these. I mean, there's no shortage of bullshit going on in the manga industry and community especially, so who knows how often I'll do them. But if you want to see more videos like this, more unfiltered, emotional, maybe, videos from me, definitely let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So yeah, this has been ThePromG. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, hope to catch you in the next one.